Okay, so we've all heard the words law and sin a million times, right? But what if I told you they're actually just two pieces of a much bigger, much wilder story? A cosmic drama, really. A story of rebellion and rescue that spans from the highest heavens right down to earth. Let's get into it.
We're going to start by tackling a huge puzzle right from the pages of the Bible. And yeah, there's a common Sunday school level answer to it, but what if that's just the tip of the iceberg? What if the real story is so much deeper? And here it is, the big question, coming straight from the Apostle Paul: why then the law? I mean, it's a brilliant question, isn't it? If we all know the law couldn't actually save anybody, then what on earth was it for? What was its job?
Now, the typical answer you'll hear is that the law is like a mirror. Its job is to show us we're sinners, to point back to the failure that started with Adam. And look, that's not wrong. But is it the whole story? What if the law was also a response to a problem that was way bigger, way more cosmic than just one man's mistake?
So, where do we find a clue to this bigger story? Well, it's tucked away in a part of the Bible that, honestly, gets overlooked a lot. A little section in Genesis chapter 6 that completely changes the game when it comes to understanding sin and the law.
So let me introduce you to the main villains of this drama. They're known as the Watchers. Now, according to ancient Jewish traditions that expand on Genesis 6, these guys weren't human, not even close. They were heavenly beings, angels, who made an absolutely catastrophic choice. They went rogue, abandoned their post in heaven, and came down to earth.
And once they got here, things spiraled out of control fast. First, they abandoned their home. Second, they started corrupting humanity, taking human wives and having these hybrid offspring, the infamous Nephilim. And third, they just opened the floodgates of forbidden knowledge. They taught humanity warfare, advanced weaponry, sorcery, things that took human evil and cranked it up to 11.
And this is the key. The evil that flooded the world wasn't just about Adam's original sin anymore. It was this toxic cocktail of human failure mixed with supernatural rebellion. Sin had literally mutated. It went from being a human problem to a full-blown cosmic insurgency against God himself.
Okay, so with that pretty intense backstory in mind, let's circle back to our question. Why the law? Suddenly, when you see it in the context of a world that isn't just broken, but is actively under siege from cosmic forces, its purpose starts to look a whole lot different. Now we can look at Paul's answer again. It was added because of transgressions. See, when you know about the cosmic rebellion, that word transgression suddenly has so much more weight. It's not just talking about people stealing or lying. It's pointing to this massive supernatural evil that had drenched the world.
So what was the law's real job? It wasn't a ladder to climb to God. No, it was more like a divine fence, a temporary quarantine zone. It was a protective hedge thrown up around God's people to hold back the tide of this insane cosmic evil. Think of it like a cosmic emergency brake, slammed on to keep the world from flying completely off the rails.
But, and this is a huge but, we have to understand its limits. The law could put up a fence, for sure. It could restrain evil on the outside. But what it could never do was change a person's heart on the inside. It couldn't destroy evil at its source. It was a stopgap measure, a temporary fix, not the ultimate cure. So the law was basically holding the line, waiting for the real solution. And that brings us to the climax of the whole drama, the arrival of Jesus Christ. He wasn't just another prophet. He was the definitive, final answer to that cosmic rebellion that started all the way back in Genesis. Paul puts it like this: when the fullness of time had come, God sent forth his Son. And check out the specific wording here: born of woman, born under the law. Now, after everything we've talked about, that phrase born of woman should just light up like a neon sign. It is packed with meaning. Because right here is the ultimate reversal. On one side, you had the Watchers. Their descent was a lawless, arrogant intrusion that resulted in forbidden, corrupt unions. On the other side, you have Christ's descent. It was an act of humble, obedient submission, resulting in a legitimate birth of a woman. It is a direct, point-for-point undoing of the original cosmic crime. It's just brilliant. See, Christ didn't just come to build a better fence. He went straight to the source of the rot. His death and resurrection struck a fatal blow to the very root of that cosmic evil. And by doing that, he made the law's job as a fence totally obsolete. Why do you need a guard on the wall when the enemy's headquarters has already been taken out?
So, what does this incredible victory mean for us right now? Well, it launches us into a totally new reality. The whole operating system changes. The age of the external law is over, and the age of the Spirit has begun.
And the upgrade is just massive. The law's job was to restrain evil from the outside. The Spirit's job is to regenerate us from the inside. The law was external, the Spirit is internal. The law's power was limited, the Spirit's power is totally transformative. And where the law was always a temporary solution, the Spirit's work in us is permanent. So here's the bottom line, the big takeaway. That whole restraining job the law did from the outside, and it was a crucial job, it could only ever be an imperfect patch. Now the Holy Spirit comes and does that same work, but perfectly, from the inside out. It's a complete change of strategy, from external rules to internal transformation. Which leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If sin isn't just about us making individual moral mistakes, but about our participation, knowing or not, in a vast cosmic rebellion, how does that change how we see good and evil in the world around us, and our role in that story today? It kind of changes everything, doesn't it?